Greetings and welcome back to another episode of the Aaron Jacobs Podcast. I'm Aaron Jacobs, a former public school band director in the state of Ohio for the last 15 years, 10 of which were spent at Avon, west of Cleveland. And today we're talking about fat shaming. And this is a topic I wanted to cover this week because this past Sunday, talking with one of the guys in my program, who's actually a former student of mine, and he mentioned that his current gym, he doesn't feel welcome. People were rushing him off of weightlifting and just generally making him feel like he didn't belong there because he's in the middle of trying to lose some weight and get healthier. And boy, is that the opposite of what we need to be doing. And so there's always this fine line that as someone who's now publicly putting information out into the world, trying to help people get healthier, what is the best way to make people problem aware without the feelings of shame coming along with that? When you see a lot of my content, the tone of it is generally a little bit more silly, and it tends to be lighthearted in tone, even though the topics I'm discussing are actually very serious. For example, today's reel that I posted, I'm just going to play it without the sound. So this is just kind of examining your habits, because I think a lot of people don't do the basics very well, and this leaves room for people to essentially scam people and to try to buying a simpler solution that really isn't a solution, like supplements or some sort of highly specialized thing, when basic health hygiene habits are not being adhered to by the average person. And that's really my point of this post on this day, right? Most people don't go to the gym and lift heavy things 3 to 4 times a week. I showed off my consistency a little bit. Sleeping enough hours, getting enough restful sleep, walking 7,500 steps a day consistently. Most people don't do that. Drink enough water. Many people mistake their hunger for hydration. And there's very likely nothing severe wrong with people in a lot of cases. And yet, because of the obesogenic environment we have and the amount of people that are unhealthy and the amount of cost that's associated with our healthcare system, people jump towards solutions that seem like they're the easy and quick fix for their problems because it's easier than going to the gym. But at the same time, how do you bring that point up? And this is still, I don't have a great answer for it, I think, even now. How do you bring this point up with people and make people problem aware without the feelings of shame? And I would even venture to guess that some people will read that post today. People are going to associate that post with some shame around their own behaviors. And so there's this delicate balance that we as coaches have to walk. If you are currently struggling with your weight, I'm sure people may even be saying some offhanded comments to you. And certainly, like my client and former student is dealing with at a gym, and we're working on getting him into a different gym because it's just not a good fit right now. And it just shouldn't be that way. And the gym needs to be a much more welcoming environment. With over 70% of people in America being overweight or obese, as a coach, I get very sick and tired of seeing people that pretend to be coaches and then are very self-promoting. They show off their body more often than anything else, rather than show the benefits of just living a positive, healthy lifestyle and just being happy in general and making it inviting and something that's achievable. And yes, there are things that I post that certainly are more advanced skills, heavier weights, because I also am trying to balance the aspirational with the realistic and achievable. It's all a delicate balance, and I'm living in this gray area of nuance as a coach. But a lot of people aren't, and a lot of people are living in this world of absolutes. Like, you need to put down all the video games, and you need to just go to the gym, and you're not masculine enough if you do this, or if you're fat, then you're not worth as much to society. Like, that is not going to help America get better. We have to make the healthy lifestyle more appealing to more people, because right now people are too tempted to turn to things that are the simple, quick fix solutions that don't actually work. And it turns out doing the hard things consistently over and over again is what's going to get you towards your health goals. Lifting weights 3 to 4 times a week, walking 7,500 steps a day consistently, eating enough carbs, fats, and protein and calories for your goals. And most people don't know how to implement those things or do those things consistently on a daily basis. Not to mention, for all my teachers out there, we do have longer work days during the school week. So while, yes, you can get into that summer shred mode once summer actually starts, building that into your work day as a teacher can be challenging. And it took me a few years to find a way to get it there. And fortunately, the last few years of my career, COVID was a big wake-up call for me. Some of you have heard me tell the story, but COVID, I put on a lot of weight. I didn't even understand that I was supposed to just get out and walk more during COVID and just get out in the sun, and how much that would have helped just me being healthy and just stay leaner. but I just sat at home and I definitely ate my feelings a little bit, and specifically in giant bricks of cheese. Thank you, Heinen's, for selling those to me. Uh, and as a result, I went up to 206 pounds, which was the heaviest I've ever been. And I try to show those pictures of myself as often as I can because I want to show that that was a part of my journey. I don't have shame around the fact that I ever got to that weight. It was a learning experience for me. And I feel very fortunate that I found an environment, systems, and habits that allowed me to correct the things that got me to that place of unhealth, and now have moved me to a place of very, very strong health outcomes. When it comes to fat shaming, the only place where I even see it being remotely useful is when you have a strong relationship with someone and you know they actually care about you. The comment section on a video on social media is not the place for it to encourage someone to improve their health. I'll tell you this, though. I forget exactly when this happened, but my mom, and it's actually her birthday today on the day of this recording, so God bless. And she looks like she's still in her 50s and she's in her 70s. My mom made an off-ed comment to me sometime before the pandemic. Something about my weight was getting a little bit too heavy. And she didn't do it in a shaming way. She made it in an observational way. And I knew that it was someone that cared about me. I have a great relationship with my mom and dad. And when she said that, that wasn't a fat shaming comment. That was a wake-up call for accountability and encouragement. And so when a comment that might be perceived as fat shaming when it comes from many other sources, when in the very narrow context of someone who is in your very close inner circle that cares about you, it can have an impact, because that was actually one of the main triggers that started me on my health journey to get serious in correcting my health. And so I have to thank my mom for that wake-up call. But she didn't do it in a shaming way. She did it in an observational way without shame. There's just so many creators that I love to see post their journeys of extreme weight loss. It's inspirational. One of the accounts that I love to follow on Instagram is called Nick is Losing It, or Nick's Losing It. He's already lost, I think, close to 200 pounds. I can't remember for sure. People always go, well, should you take advice from someone who is still overweight and obese? Yes. If someone has already made great progress on their health journey and they are doing the thing, absolutely. I think it's wonderful that he's documenting his journey, and we're going to get to see him we're going to see Nick continue to lose it and get really healthy over the course of the next few years. And the reason I'm actually very against fat shaming, among many other things, is that shame does not encourage people to change their behavior. There is some research to support that people who experience fat shaming are more likely to have higher anxiety and depression, engage in binge eating or other disordered eating patterns, avoid exercise due to judgment, and gain more weight rather than lose it. All those things are exactly the opposite of what needs to happen in America. And yes, I agree that people that are overweight and obese, because of the amount of money we spend on non-communicable chronic diseases, it is a huge burden on our healthcare system and the general cost of things in America. I agree. And yes, you can be mad about that as an individual because things in general cost a lot right now. But shaming people into changing isn't going to get the results you want. Making people problem aware in a positive way is going to be my approach. And especially because I think when it comes to fat shaming, it drives home that your problems are so bad that you need to change everything. People that are healthy and sustain it for a long time over the course of their life, they make small, actionable changes that are achievable and able to do them consistently over time. Some coaches encourage massive, massive change immediately when you start a new program. I am all about going to where people are at, as any good teacher should be. That doesn't mean changing everything all at once, especially for teachers who live in such an obesogenic environment like school, where in many cases people are always bringing in treats and stuff for teachers, where the school lunches in America are absolute garbage in many schools. And a future podcast episode, I want to compare American school lunches to school lunches in Japan, because Japan, when it comes to school lunches, does it right. They have such a great system for school lunches. I will say, while I'm against fat shaming, I am for shaming our government for not doing a better job and not getting, and for America in general for not funding school lunches better. I'm okay with that kind of shame. But to the individual, for behavior change, let's stay away from fat shaming. It's actively going to discourage people from becoming healthier. Because let's think about this. So my client and I talking on Sunday, let's just say that he didn't have a coach to help him find a solution, that he didn't even know that a teacher health coach existed. and wasn't working with anybody to find a solution. That's a lot more people out there. And so that person that's going to experience that one bout of fat shaming, they may very well not return to the gym for a long time or ever. Yes, being overweight and obese is a problem. It's a burden on the healthcare system, and it costs them and all of us more money over the course of their lifetime. By shaming them, you've only made the problem worse. So, as frustrating as it can be, if you're in great shape, you've been athletic your whole life, that's wonderful. But you know what? That wasn't me either. That wasn't me. I was the king of the band geeks in high school, man. I ran track and I did martial arts as a kid. So yes, I did do some sports things, but I was never particularly athletic. I was never the strongest person in high school by far. And frankly, because of the school environment being to where star athletes are put on such a pedestal, in many cases, just culturally in high schools, for the rest of us who have other interests, developing that relationship with fitness as an average person while growing up going through the public school system is a lot more challenging. And a lot of people that have naturally just found fitness as a part of their lifestyle because of their natural interests growing up have a really hard time, I think, relating to the rest of us that didn't always have that relationship with fitness. So the next time you have a thought of shaming someone for being overweight or obese, maybe think about stepping into someone else's shoes, because they may not have had all the advantages that you had growing up. They may not have the familial strength, income, or family net worth the way that you do. They may not have grown up in quite as nice of a community as you, regardless. And yes, everyone's a little bit different, and there are people that go through adverse circumstances and become super fit. But in general, just like politics, we would do well, rather than trying to shame people, to try to understand where the average person is coming from. And I'm all about shaming politics and politicians, but when it comes to the average everyday person, shaming the average everyday person for what they think and how they act is not going to encourage them to change their behavior. So just like politics, if you want to encourage someone to change their opinion, you need to relate to them as a human being and encourage them to see things from your perspective, and vice versa. And especially with how contentious our society is these days, not just around the topics of fat shaming, but anything, we would all do well to try to relate to each other a little bit better. So let's cut out the fat shaming. Let's encourage people to move more and to encourage people to make the gym a more positive and welcoming space. Thank you all very much for listening today to the Aaron Jacobs podcast, where I want to make it abundantly clear that fat shaming needs to go. Everyone take care and be well. Be kind to each other out there.